Did the first president of the United States see the end of America before it even began? In the winter of 1777, George Washington was a man on the edge of defeat. His army was starving, freezing, and dying in the snows of Valley Forge. But according to a chilling historical account first published in 1859, something happened in his tent that changed the course of history. He didn't just pray for victory. He was visited by a supernatural entity that showed him 3 specific perils that would strike the American Republic. 2 of them have already happened with terrifying accuracy. The third one is happening right now. This is the story of the secret vision of Valley Forge. It is a legend that has been passed down through generations of patriots, whispered in military circles, and preserved in the Library of Congress. It describes a future where America is not invincible, but vulnerable. A future where the final war is not fought on foreign soil, but right here, in our cities and our fields. To understand the weight of this vision, you must understand the moment. The date was December 1777. The Continental Army was broken. Soldiers were leaving bloody footprints in the snow because they had no shoes. Washington, feeling the immense weight of the revolution crumbling on his shoulders, went to his tent to pray. He was alone, or so he thought. According to the account given by Anthony Sherman, a soldier who served under Washington, the general looked up to see a singularly beautiful female standing in the entrance of his tent. He tried to speak, but he was paralyzed. The air grew thick and luminous. The entity did not speak at first. She simply gestured toward the ocean. Washington watched as the water of the Atlantic Ocean seemed to roll back. He saw the continents of Europe and America. And then, the first great peril began. The entity dipped water from the ocean and sprinkled it over America and Europe. A dark cloud arose, moving across the ocean. This was the vision of the Revolutionary War itself. Washington saw the burning towns, the thunder of cannons and the cries of the dying. The entity told him, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." The cloud eventually lifted, and America was born as a free nation. This was the past. But then the vision shifted. The entity looked out toward the Atlantic again. This time, a dark, ominous shadow arose not from Europe, but from the south, from Africa. It moved slowly, heavy with sorrow and blood, and it covered the southern states of the newly formed Union. Washington watched in horror as a specter rose from this shadow and flitted back and forth between the North and the South. This was the prophecy of the American Civil War, a conflict that would tear the nation apart nearly 100 years later. Washington saw the brothers fighting brothers. He saw the land soaked in blood. The entity warned him again, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." Just as in history, he saw an angel descend, bearing a crown with the word Union on it, placing it on the American flag. The nation survived. The shadow dispersed. For decades, skeptics dismissed this story. But think about it. How could a man in 1777 predict the exact nature of the Civil War? How could he foresee the specific division between North and South? The accuracy of the First Two Perils is undeniable, and that is what makes the Third Peril so terrifying. The vision did not end with the Civil War. The entity showed Washington one last event, an event that was not a civil dispute and not a war for independence. It was a war of annihilation. Washington described seeing dark red clouds rising from the east. He saw a threat that combined the powers of Europe, Asia, and Africa. He saw an invasion so massive that it threatened to erase the United States from the map completely. This is the part of the prophecy that has kept military strategists and believers awake at night for over a century. The Third Peril describes a scenario where America is attacked from all sides, overwhelmed by a coalition of nations, and brought to its knees. Are we living in the shadow of this Third Peril? Look at the headlines. We see rising tensions in Asia. We see conflict in Europe. We see a world that is becoming increasingly hostile to the American way of life. Washington's vision suggests that the greatest test is not behind us, it is ahead of us. In the next part of this video, we are going to describe the third vision in graphic detail. We will analyze the red light Washington saw, the specific direction of the invasion, and the horrifying sound of millions of voices screaming in battle on American soil. This is the warning he wanted us to hear. The first two perils were about birth and division. The third peril is about death. After showing Washington the scars of the Civil War, the mysterious entity in his tent turned her gaze once more to the ocean. But this time, the scene was different. It was darker, more chaotic. Washington reported that the angel dipped water from the ocean 3 times, sprinkling it over Europe, Asia, and Africa. Then he saw a terrifying sight. He said, "From each of these countries arose thick black clouds that were soon joined into one, and throughout this mass there gleamed a dark red light by which I saw hordes of armed men." Let's pause and analyze that image. Thick black clouds joining into one, hordes of armed men. This is a description of a massive, coordinated alliance, a global coalition forming against a single target. Washington watched as this dark mass moved across the ocean, not slowly, but with terrifying speed. It didn't stop at the borders. It didn't stop at the coast. He described the invasion in chilling detail. These men, moving with the cloud, marched by land and sailed by sea to America, which was enveloped in the volume of the cloud. The vision showed the destruction of the American homeland. Washington saw his country, the land he was fighting to create, burning. He saw towns and cities springing up, representing the future growth of the nation, and then he saw them devastated. He heard the thundering of cannons and the clash of swords. But remember, he was describing 18th century warfare. If he were seeing modern war, cannons could be missiles. Swords could be soldiers occupying the streets. The most disturbing part of this vision is the sheer scale of the despair. Washington said, "I saw my country wrapped in this darkness, and I heard the mingled groans of the American people." This wasn't a distant war. This was total occupation. The son of the Republic was forced to watch as the experiment of liberty was almost extinguished. Why almost? Because the vision implies that America is pushed to the very brink of destruction. The enemy is everywhere. The defenses have failed. The dark red light, which many interpret today as the symbol of communism or totalitarianism, seemed to cover the entire land. For a patriot like Washington, this must have been unbearable. He was seeing the future collapse of everything he held dear. He was seeing a time when the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans would no longer protect the United States. He was seeing a time when enemies from Europe, Asia, and Africa would unite with a single purpose: to humble the eagle. This part of the prophecy resonates deeply with modern fears. We live in a world where alliances are shifting. We see the formation of powerful blocs in the East. We see the vulnerability of our borders. Washington's vision suggests that the third peril is the most dangerous because it comes from the outside, but it succeeds because the nation is unprepared. Anthony Sherman, who recounted the story, said that Washington felt a sense of doom as he watched the clouds settle over the Union. It seemed as if all hope was lost. The mingled groans of the people rose up like a prayer of desperation. But this is not just a story of defeat. It is a story of divine intervention. The vision suggests that America cannot be destroyed by human hands alone, but it can only be saved by something greater than military might. The third peril is the ultimate test of the American spirit. It asks the question, what happens when the lights go out? What happens when the grid fails and the enemy is at the gate? Washington saw that moment. He saw the fire. He saw the darkness. But he didn't look away. In the final part of this video, we will reveal the ending of the vision. It is the most controversial and hopeful part of the prophecy. Washington saw what happens after the invasion. He saw a light breaking through the darkness. He saw the Union rising from the ashes. And we will discuss the cryptic warning the angel gave him at the very end, a warning that every American needs to hear today. Washington watched in despair as the dark red light consumed his country. The cities were burning. The people were groaning under the weight of the invasion. It seemed that the American experiment was over. The combined forces of the world had won. But then, the vision changed. Just when the darkness seemed absolute, the entity in the tent cried out with a terrible voice, "Son of the Republic, look and learn." Washington looked up and saw a light breaking through the black clouds. He described an angel standing above the chaos, blowing a long golden trumpet. And instantly, a light like 1,000 suns shone down from the heavens. It pierced through the dark red cloud. It illuminated the broken land. And then, the most supernatural event of the vision occurred. Washington saw the spirits of the dead rising from the earth to join the living. He saw the ancestors of the nation standing side by side with the defenders of the future. The angel cried out, "Union! Union!" and dipped the American flag into the light. The invaders, the hordes from Africa, Europe, and Asia, were not defeated by guns or cannons. They were driven back by this blinding divine light. The dark cloud was rolled back into the ocean. The red light vanished. Washington watched as the inhabitants of America emerged from the ruins. They were battered, they were scarred, but they were victorious. The villages, towns, and cities sprang up again. The angel, standing over the reborn nation, proclaimed the final prophecy. While the stars remain and the heavens send down dew upon the earth, so long shall the Union last. The vision faded. Washington found himself alone again in his cold tent in Valley Forge. But the despair was gone. He knew that no matter how dark the winter got, the nation would survive. He knew that it would face 3 great trials, but it would not die. This story, recorded by Anthony Sherman and published in the National Tribune in 1880, ends with a solemn interpretation from Washington himself. He reportedly said, "I felt that I had seen a vision wherein had been shown to me the birth, progress, and destiny of the United States." So, what does this mean for us today? If the legend is true, we have already survived the first 2 perils. The Revolutionary War gave us birth. The Civil War tested our unity. That leaves only one event remaining: the invasion, the Third Peril. Skeptics will say this is just a myth. They will say it was a story invented to boost morale. Perhaps, but look at the precision of the details. Look at the description of a global alliance against the West. Look at the description of a war that threatens the very existence of the state. It aligns terrifyingly well with the geopolitical realities of the 21st century. Washington's vision is not a guarantee of safety. It is a warning that safety is an illusion. It tells us that the greatest threat to America will come when we least expect it, when clouds gather from across the ocean. But it is also a message of profound hope. It tells us that this nation has a destiny that cannot be erased by foreign powers. It tells us that in the darkest hour, when all seems lost, there is a power greater than armies that watches over this land. We are living in the time between the second and third peril. The question is not if the storm is coming. The question is, are we strong enough to weather it? Washington saw the fire, but he also saw the dawn. Subscribe to this channel. We are dedicated to uncovering the lost history and the forbidden prophecies of our time. In our next video, we will investigate the prophecy of the 1776 comet, the celestial sign that appeared at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Was it a blessing or a countdown? Prepare yourselves. The history books didn't tell you everything.